So this week I texted Cody and I was thinking a good thing to talk about, fun thing to talk about is if we could build a dream garage and put any 10 cars in it, what would they be? So I broke it down. I'll just go through it. And I'll give mine, and then you can go and give yours. So my front engine cars, these are just what came to mind. These are cars I would love to drive and own. So my first thing is an E30 M3. So that's like your 1990s. This is like the pinnacle BMW M3, known for like it's a driver's car. This is a car that's super fun to drive. Not by today's standards, super fast and super thrilling, but this is a car that's super solid, super reliable. You can have a lot of fun with, especially like you can drive it in the snow, do a lot of snow drifting. When I edit this, I'll put pictures of everything in here. It's a super boxy shaped car. I just love it. I've always been a fan of BMW. So an E30 M3, which actually pretty sought after. They're not super expensive, but to find these in a good shape, they're going for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 nowadays. And this is a 30, 40-year-old car almost. Next, this is only one of two cars that I've actually driven, and this is the Nismo GTR, and I would probably just go with the newest, whatever the newest one is, the most advanced, the most powerful Nismo GTR. I've always loved the Nissan Skylines and Nissan GTRs. Got to drive this car on a racetrack, and it was everything I wanted it to be. So I don't have a...
But yo, listen.
Go ahead.
Yo, listen though. Right? Not to cut you off,
you're
but
fine.
Listen. That's a dream car for you?
If I had 10 cars in a garage, there would be a GTR in there.
What do you know? See, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many options. How do you know you wouldn't be selling yourself short?
Well, and keep in mind
because like, what would a Bugatti do to you if you drove one? Like, that's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing,
like,
though. I don't think you're going to, even if you got the money, you're not going to drive a $2 million car like you're going to drive a $100,000 car. You're just not.
Ask Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan. The bitch hit him in the Honda.
Yeah.
She said it was a CRV.
Yeah,
she hit his Bugatti.
He lost his mind.
$2 million.
He lost his mind. But he also drives that thing in New York City and then valet parks it at a freaking steakhouse. Like,
yes.
I'm gonna drive this shit out of my GTR.
I'm saying, like, this is his perspective of dream. No matter what, you can do it because you could just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
All right. So GTR, which is dope.
So then,
which is dope.
And here's where I run into a problem, because I also have a BMW M8 competition on here, and those are very, very similar cars. So I just put them both on there because they're what came to mind, and I love them both. So one of those could easily get replaced with something else because they're a very similar car. The M8 has a V8 twin turbo. The GTR has an inline-six twin turbo, but they're both a coupe and all-wheel drive. The M8's probably a little bigger, but those are very similar cars. Then I have my only real classic car on here is a 1963 Corvette, and that is the one with the split rear windshield that they only made for 1 year. I think it's one of the most beautiful cars of all time. I put the newest...
It used to be like the Coca-Cola car.
Yeah. I put the newest...
Red and white.
The C8 Corvette. I have that car as an honorable mention, only because I'm going to get into the mid-engine cars. And kind of like I said, with the GTR and the M8 being very similar, I don't know if I would like the new Corvette more than my two mid-engine cars I have on here coming up next. So there's easily the GTR, the M8, if I cut one of those, I would probably have a ZL1 Camaro on there, or something like some kind of either a modern muscle car or an old muscle car. I would probably ditch one of those for a muscle car, but that's an honorable mention. Moving on to mid-engine, I would definitely have a 911 GT3 RS. This is a car I'm going to get to drive in 2021, and I cannot be more excited to do that on a racetrack. Always love the 911. I'd even be fine with a Turbo S, but the GT3 RS is just that next level. Like, that's as crazy as it gets. And at one time, that was the quickest car in the world around the Nürburgring, and that is the racetrack in Germany that pretty much every sports car gets tested on. So right now, it's a Mercedes that holds that, but just a year ago, the 911 was the fastest car to do that. So that would for sure be in my dream garage. Next, I have on here an Audi R8 V10. This is pretty much the same car as the Lamborghini Aventador, I want to say it, or it's, I don't, maybe it's not the Aventador, but there's a Lamborghini, and it shares the same platform as the Audi. Lamborghinis are just a little flashy. Like, they're definitely cool, and it would surely be fun to drive, but I definitely know I would enjoy to own the R8 more. I would drive it more. So would I like a new Corvette more than a 911 or an Audi 8? Audi R8? Probably not. That's why I didn't put the Corvette on there. So, but the new Corvette is probably the coolest car in the world right now for new cars. Next, for sedans, I only have one sedan on here, and this is a car I've actually driven, and this is the Mercedes-Benz E63S. This car is one of the most perfect cars ever made because the quality of the luxury in the interior is just almost as good as it gets. The only thing that's going to beat it is like Bentleys and Rolls Royces and things like that. So it's super comfortable, super luxurious. Everything in it works great. Drives impeccable. The power is ridiculous. It's got 603 horsepower, over 600 pound of torque. Just unbelievably fast and powerful. And like I said, comfortable. You can use it every day. It's a big car. You can fit your family in it. You can fit luggage in it. So if I had a four-door car, that's probably the best four-door car out there that's going to drive well, look good, super comfortable, super luxurious. It's just a perfect car. And I would probably take that over the BMW M5, which is about the same thing. I just think the Mercedes looks a little nicer inside and outside. So next, on to SUVs and trucks. This my craziest car on here is the six-wheeled Mercedes G-Wagon. That was a super limited car. They're over $1 million. This is definitely the most expensive car I have on here. But you'll see the picture of it. The G-Wagon with 6 wheels and a pickup truck bed. One of the most ridiculous production cars ever made, and that would surely be in my garage. Next, I have
That's dope.
Which isn't even out yet, but the new Hummer EV, the electric Hummer, whenever that comes out, everything I've seen on that thing, that car is absolutely ridiculous. Inside and out. It's got an amazing interior. The things it can do off-road, and the capabilities it has, that looks like it's going to be one of the coolest cars. And that's a kind of pretty expensive car, too. It's going to be over $100,000. But the new Hummer EV, maybe I could probably swap that out with something else if I really thought about it. I'm not super big into trucks and SUVs, but I think I could definitely satisfy the itch as long as I had a 6-wheeled G-Wagon and then an electric Hummer.
What more do you need?
Right. And then under Miscellaneous, this is a car that's not actually a production car, and there's a few different variations of it, so I might have one or two pictures of this up, but a Safari 911. So what they do is they take like an 80s Porsche 911, put it on a lift kit, give it knobby tires, and turn it into an off-roader.
Oh, yeah.
These were actually rally cars back in the day. So it's not just like a custom hot rod thing, like they were used for a rally car. So just picture like an 80s 911 body just lifted up on like almost like a dune buggy Volkswagen Beetle. Like you've seen those before, right? Where they take old Beetles, beef them up, and turn them into like off-roaders. That, only it's a Porsche 911. The coolest thing ever. So you'll see pictures of that. So the honorable mentions I didn't put on here. I just already mentioned the ZL1 Camaro. Of course, the C8 Corvette. That's the newest Corvette. The Rambo Lambo, this is a 70s and 80s. It's kind of like Lamborghini's version of a G-Wagon. It was a military car turned into a street car, and it's a super ridiculous, super massive Lamborghini Not a luxury car by any means. It's a military vehicle. So think G-Wagon only, Lamborghini. The Rambo Lambo, it has a real name. I can't think of what. It's like the LR 100 or 1000, something weird. Also, an honorable mention, an Aston Martin DBS Superleggera. Aston Martin makes some of the most beautiful cars of all time.
The DB5s and all that.
Yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. The DBS Superleggera. I had a really hard time picking. I knew an Aston Martin is a dream car of mine, but which Aston Martin, it's just so hard to pick. And I came across this one. It's a good mix between super luxurious and super sporty. Also on here is the R34 Skyline. This was the last Nissan Skyline made, only in Japan, so you can only get it in right-hand drive. Just one of the most iconic sports cars of all time. An R34 might even take that over a modern GTR. I wouldn't know. I would literally take me to get to the point in my life where I could drive both for an extensive amount of time before I could decide on which one I wanted. But I just put the modern GTR in there because I know I've driven it. So, but maybe I would like the old one better. And then the only other thing on here, surprisingly, I put is a late 90s Lamborghini Diablo, one of the most beautiful Lamborghinis of all time. They pretty much took the Countach, which was like super 80s, and like refined it, and it just made it one of the most beautiful cars of all time. But a late 90s Lamborghini Diablo is another honorable mention. But outside of that, for the little time I put into this, that's probably the 10, and then the honorable mentions, 10 best cars I could think of to have in a dream garage.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe.
Don't you ever talk about me!
The Killing Time Podcast with Lux and Cody.